Welcome to StarCraft 2's World Championship Series Europe Premier League round of 16. We have had 2 fantastic days already of StarCraft 2 action. Last week, if you weren't with us, we went through Groups A and Group B, and tonight we'll focus on Group C, and then one more day tomorrow into Group D. If you missed it last week, Bunny and Happy going through in Group A, both foreign Terrans, and in Group B, both the foreign Zergs went out. Yoda and San going through in that group. Tonight we'll focus on Golden, MMA, Mana and Welmu, and then tomorrow the small matter for Daishi of 3 Koreans in his team. That's going to be a tough one for the Frenchman, but we'll find out how he gets on tomorrow. Today, as I said, we're going to focus on Group C, which means introducing our expert this evening. Well, he's one of 3 experts that we've got, actually. He is, of course, the one and only Apollo. Oh, no cheers, no cheers. There we go.
Hello.
They're a bit slow this evening. They needed warm up. That's all it is.
It is getting cold in Cologne, so...
Yeah, it is starting to drop, isn't it?
Blame him.
But temperature's about to go up tonight because it's Group C, it's WCS, we're all very excited. When we spoke about this, as we often do before the show, a few hours before, we all get together and we have a natter about the group and figure out where it might go. Dennis Hasselhoff said, strong feeling for MMA. And I was like, oh, I don't know, I've got a strong feeling for Welmu. And you said...
Golden.
And James said...
I don't know.
Mana.
Yeah.
So I reckon this is the most difficult group to predict because we've all gone for a different player.
Yeah, I think MMA is no doubt the clear favourite for the entire group, coming off the DreamHack win, performing well. He's got a great head-to-head record versus every single player in the group. So he's the clear, obvious pick. But it's not always the obvious pick that comes out in first place, and I have a strong feeling for Golden.
Okay, well, let's look at the bracket first of all, show you how it's going to play out this evening in Group C. These are the 2 matches for you. Golden versus Welmu will kick things off in a few minutes' time, and then we'll have Mana versus MMA, which I always think is the commentator's nightmare. Yeah. When it gets fast in there, having to say both names at the same time, horrible for the commentators, but that's their problem, not mine this evening. It's probably going to be yours, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you're going to get the honour of that one. And if we look at all 4 players in this group, you've already pointed out MMA is probably the favourite, but not only is he the favourite, this is a very important night for him. When we're talking about Road to BlizzCon, we're talking about the end of the season, we're very much upon it now. There's just one more big event after this with DreamHack and the WCS regions. So anyone left in the regions right now who's hovering between 13 and maybe 25 as an outside area are thinking, I've got to do well in both these last 2 opportunities to get in.
Yeah, more so the Premier League because it offers the most points. A first win in the Premier League's 2,000 points. A first win at DreamHack's only 750. So it's really, really important to gain the easier points because DreamHack in itself is going to be stacked full of really dangerous players. It's a massive tournament. Here it's just 1 or 2 games at a time, 1 game at a time. You can prepare. It's the easier way.
We reckon, and this isn't a scientific fact, but we reckon if MMA wins his games this evening, advances to round of 8, he probably only needs round of 16 at the very worst at DreamHack to be into BlizzCon. Yeah. So he's got to do it tonight. There's massive pressure on him.
You can't lose tonight. I mean, if MMA gets 3rd or 4th place, it's so difficult to just go into a big DreamHack tournament. You know, despite he's just come off from 1-1, you can't go in there and say, I will get top 4 at this event, because that's what he's going to need if he loses here to make sure he gets in that top 16. He has to perform today.
Okay. And we look at the whole group as a whole, all 4 players now, and Welmu has always performed in round of 16s. We know how good it is, but 3 times now he's reached the round of 8 and not managed to get any further. He's lost 3-0 in every time he gets to some sort of mental block or something. But round of 16's always been very good. Not really in contention for BlizzCon. I mean, mathematically, sure, he can still make it, but at 30th, you've got to fancy that his chances have gone this season. Yeah,
he needs to either, you know, top 2 this event and then do very well at DreamHack. Combining that together is almost unheard of for a lot of players to be able to do. You know, I wouldn't... For Welmu, don't look at BlizzCon until you're really close.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mana and Golden even further away from BlizzCon, so their story really is about doing as well as they can. Mana, he's the only European in a round of 16 who's got a Premier title to his name, but it's been over 680 days since he won something that's Premier worthy. And Golden is coming to the end of his career. He's already said, this is it. This is the end of the season. He's done. So for him, WCS is everything.
Yeah, it's everything for Golden, and it's really funny because Golden's career has been a long one. He started in 2010, has played for multiple teams since then, started on FOU, went to StarTale, played in some American teams. But then when he announced his retirement, that's when his results came in, weirdly enough. And I don't know if that was the kick he needed to go out with one good year, but he's been playing really well.
He has. Semi-finals last year. Let's look at Golden versus Wellmu now, because these two are matched up against each other in our first game. And Golden, as we said, made it to the semi-finals last season, played fantastically well, has a decent win-loss record in WCS matches as well, and interestingly, he's the only player to have attempted to have played in all 3 regions as well. Tried his hand in Korea first season, he was in Challenger, didn't quite qualify for America, and then has come here for the last 2 seasons. So he's really tried his hand around all 3 regions. But why has he been so good in Europe, though?
I actually don't know. I don't know if it's whether just coming to Europe and having a completely different atmosphere, because if you think about playing in Korea, it's very difficult to break through and get the results unless you are top tier. America, he kind of struggled, tried to go to a couple of events, but wasn't gaining the right practice. And Europe just seems to be that middle ground where there's a lot of good players here. It's very competitive on the European ladder. He's playing in WCS in a very competitive league, and he's getting results.
Yeah, moving on to Wellmu. He's, I think, always left out whenever we talk about best foreigner in the world, and often overlooked, actually, mainly because he's focused on WCS Europe and almost exclusively has been here. A couple of dream hacks where he hasn't done badly, but he hasn't sort of shone. But he is actually, mathematically and technically, the 2nd most successful player in WCS Europe history, foreigner-wise. Vortex obviously being the most successful, and has been to the round of 8 3 times, as we already said. He plays this fun, funky kind of semi-aggressive, passive-aggressive style that sometimes gets him into trouble, sometimes makes him look like a genius. Where do you place him right now in the foreigner sense? You know, is he as good as Scarlet? Is he as good as Vortex? Is he as good as Snoot?
He's on a pretty much a Vortex level, a guy who can compete with anybody, but hasn't got a top 4, hasn't got to a final in his career, which really separates him from the Stefano, from the Scarlet, from the Snoot. So when he breaks that barrier, when he breaks the top 8, that's when he's on their level. But he, like you said, he's one of the most consistent Protoss players. He's probably top 2 Protoss in Europe right now.
Yeah, absolutely. His PvP's always been very good. We know that. Could end up facing Mana at some point in this group, so I think he'll be okay with that. But his first matchup is with Golden. He actually has never lost a map to Golden. They've only played 3 maps, but still, he's never lost a map to him. So psychologically, in some way, he's kind of going into that and going, well, I obviously know how to beat this guy. Yeah,
I mean, he's beat him a couple of times on ladder and a couple of online tournaments, but I guess it's always different when you come and you see that guy right next to you. Golden's had a great last season too. He had a great round of 32, demolishing Terran players left and right. And for me, Golden's a very all-round player. It's going to be very difficult to break him today.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about his PvZ, but his PvT, if he ends up with one of, could end up playing MMA in this group, is also very good recently. 71% win rate for Wellmu against Terrans. He seems to be one of the Protoss that isn't struggling against Terrans recently, even since the patch. Also, he's won against plenty of them recently too. So weirdly for Wellmu, he probably isn't worried about MMA or Mana right now, but Golden is probably the toughest he could have had in this group.
Yeah, Golden, for me, isn't a player who's looked at as one of the best in the Premier League here, but definitely should be. He's really, really capable of going far. Remember that he lost 3-2 to San in the semi-finals, and San is just one of the best. One of the best.
Yeah, very dangerous player. Maps are just being vetoed. Deadwing, no surprise there. Merry-go-round. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Merry-Go-Round and Catalina are the 2 most difficult maps, I suppose, for Wellmu to play on, so I guess he'd be quite happy to see Catalina gone. And then he gets, I imagine, Foxtrot is a little bit annoying to play on for a Protoss player, so I'd imagine that King Sejong, Nimbus, and Overgrowth will be the last 3.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Perfect.
And
I'm glad you're here doing this with me this time, because when I was doing it with Hasselhoff, we were useless when it came to this. we had a ZVZ and we were both kind of going, ooh, I wonder which ones we're going to get here.
So I really think this series is going to be all about what has Wellmu prepared. The first match that everyone plays in the group is where the most preparation can come in. Then you have to adapt throughout the day. This is all about Wellmu, what he's got planned, what strategies, what tactics. And it's then, flip side, how is Golden going to figure it out, and if he can figure it out, and then can he defend it?
Yeah, I'm mildly worried about my assertions earlier with all of you that Wellmu was going to do well. He always does well in a round of 16. If only because when I spoke to him earlier, he said, nah, I haven't been playing much, went away with some friends, went to a forest land by a lake, did some hot sauna stuff, and I was like, have you not been practicing? Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I've played some, but, you know, I just haven't played as much as maybe I normally would. So I'm a bit worried now about this. But having said that, I'm pretty sure he uses that every season, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he's got the good old scorecard that he can pull out his back pocket.
I've been concentrating on school, haven't been playing any games whatsoever, and he comes here and he steamrollers.
But the thing is with Protoss compared to Terran and Zerg, it's all about the strategy choice. You know, players like Naniwa were made famous because they knew what to do and what strategy to pull off, and then as long as you can execute that, then you're going to be in a good position. If you're trying to rely on mechanics, a defensive style to win the game skillfully, not without the strategy involved, then it becomes a lot harder. I think Wellmer's a smart player. Okay. I know that you've gone for gold in the group, so I guess you have to stick with gold in this matchup as well. Yeah, definitely. Okay. All right. Thank you, Sean. Don't forget, you can send us your predictions using the hashtag #WCS. Make sure you're following all of the official Blizzard StarCraft 2 accounts. It's at StarCraft on Twitter and /StarCraft on Facebook.com as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and they might even feature during the matches. Time now for our first game of the day in Group C. It's a big one for Wellmo. It's Golden versus Wellmo and your commentary team. We're glad to have him back. He's all fit and well again. It's Kalaris and Hasselhobbs.
Thank you very much. Partially well. I'm still a little bit rusty, but we'll get things going. Caster's desk here for Group C in the round of 16 as these two players face off to go on to the winners match. And I think as this game develops, we always see Wellmu come into the round of 16 performing very, very well. And he's been at the last 2 round of 8s. But I think this group might be his tallest challenge yet in terms of actually advancing on.
Yeah, man. There's MMA, who recently won a DreamHack. There is Golden, top 4 in the last WCS European season. And then we have Mana, who is really looking for something big again in his career. It's been a while that he had a really high finish in a tournament, and he's practicing very hard. He said he had some very decisive practice, and he's looking forward to play the group. But let's focus on Wellmu and Golden first. Yeah,
here is Golden, our guy who, well, he's actually, he only got a 50% win ratio in versus Protoss at the moment, but that's 9 and 9. And you have to take into account the caliber of players that he's been playing and also pushing San to the very brink of his first loss in 2014 with that 3-2 last season. So that was very, very close for Golden. And just in general, he's such a strong player in this matchup.
On the other hand, he dropped out in the DreamHack Moscow against Adon Minos, who is definitely not one of the very top Protosses. He's good, but you can't rate him on the same level as Sun or some Protosses like that.
Yeah, you're completely right about that. So we'll have to see how this is going to develop. And then, of course, we have Wellmu, a guy that has done very well against Zergs in the past. But one big thing that's very important here for me going into this season is that Wellmu has always looked good in the round of 32, topping his groups and then advancing onto the round of 16. But this season was a little bit shaky for him. There was the potential that he wasn't going to move on. So far, Season 3 hasn't gone too well for Wellmu.
Yeah, that's true. And as we heard before, or I talked to Wellmu as well, and he said he didn't practice too much lately. He was at a friendly LAN party with some of his friends playing like Warcraft 3 and some other games. So he didn't practice too much StarCraft 2, but he said he's in decent shape and he has some build orders prepared. That's what he said. So.
Oh, okay then. Okay. So first map is going to be Overgrowth between these two. We've always seen Wellmu be a little bit of a trickster when it comes to this game, you know, putting on some aggression early on and trying to feel out his opponents, basically. Like, with his initial bits of aggression, how is he going to then transition on throughout that game and series? And sometimes he can get very, very aggressive from that point on.
Yeah, definitely. And on that point, being aggressive, he told me that he really loves the 4-player maps, and so far the more than 2-player maps at least. So Catalina and Deadwing were vetoed by Golden, so he's definitely trying to get the maps where he can scout Wellmu to see what kind of aggression is coming out. And Overgrowth, the first map, is, as you mentioned, you can be tricky on it, but the Zerg has good opportunities to scout whatever Protoss is trying to do.
Yeah, and ever since Golden has, you know, as they said on the desk, announced his retirement, he has been looking on form. He's been scouting diligently. He's been able to spot things that have been coming his way, but maybe not so apparently against Dominus, who did upset him in the last DreamHack. But anyway, let's get into it. Our series number 1 for the day here in Group C between Golden and Wellmu. One of them will advance on to the winners match. As we have spawning up to the top right, it's our red Zerg representing Alien Invasion. It is Golden. And down to the bottom left-hand corner, we have our blue Protoss representing NRS. It's Wellmu. Woo!
Do you think we will see an Immortal Olymp by Wellmu in this best of 3?
I think we could do. I think we could do. Maybe in the first game, I would imagine this be a bit more of a feel out for him. Just trying to kind of see what Golden's going to be doing. Because as Wellmu said, he said that he hadn't been playing as much recently. So I'm a little bit worried as to how he's going to approach this. Again, his results in the round of 32 were a little bit shaky, and it wasn't exactly the toughest of groups. TLO, Euthermal, and Live Zerg, and he went through in second place there, while TLO took it first. So this round of 16 group, as I say, I feel it's going to be difficult for Wellmu here.
Yeah, definitely. I think actually for both foreigners.
Yeah.
And I think that MMA, as mentioned on the table, is the huge favorite in this group. So it basically will come down to someone beat Golden, like either Mana or Wellmu. That's what I think. And so this first match is actually extremely important for Wellmu here. Who's going for Nexus first? But there is a drone. That's so typical of Golden.
Oh, well.
Oh, this is annoying.
Yeah, I mean, what are the real consequences of this when you're a Protoss player? He has to do this, right? I mean, he saved up all his money for that Nexus first.
He has to, because the gateway would be so delayed, you can't just leave the hatchery there. The thing is that the Zerg might cancel and build an Evo chamber on it, if he's quick enough. Yeah. It's not that easy to do, but if he spams it very hard, and there we go. So this is extremely annoying. Look at the money of Wellmu. He's getting a gateway behind this. He doesn't have a second pylon. Oh, my God.
Oh, wow. Golden. All right, very, very cool start from him. And all the while during this, look how many probes are losing mining time as well. That's a big factor when going into this. You can already see a little bit of downfall in the income here of Wellmu.
Obviously, Golden is delaying his hatchery at home as well.
It's true.
But as you mentioned, the mining time is a big deal. The good thing for Wellmu, he started the gateway pretty early, I would say. Oh, he gets the drone. So he has the choice to get the Nexus and the Cyber Core plus a gas very quickly after this. So he might be able to do some kind of gateway aggression, even though he wanted to play Nexus first.
Yeah, and I was about to actually ask, is there something that he could do if he felt thrown off by something like this? And I guess in the end, it is kind of just going for a little bit more of aggression a little bit earlier, because you do have that gateway there. So
it could be. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but there's definitely the chance that he wants to do it. He's going to throw the Cyber Core at the wall. So to wall off a little bit quicker. That also means that Golden will have a good chance of scouting the upgrade in the Cyber Core with a Zergling.
Exactly, but also, I mean, the Overlord positioned on the high ground as well, if it is poked forwards a little bit, he would be able to see any kind of chrono boost into that if it was a warp gate tech. So he delayed the Nexus, which in essence has put down the gateway a little bit quicker. And if Wellmu wanted to do something that you were theorizing before, it could be spotted quite easily by Golden, yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Golden, on the other hand, is taking his gas, or he's actually already mining. He does have 3 hatches on the way, so his economy will be pretty good. Queens are on the way. He only builds 1 set of Zerglings to probably take control of both watchtowers. Maybe 1 Zergling will run around to find a probe or a pylon. So pretty greedy play so far, especially given the opening. I mean, it was very tricky as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, extra gateways been added on at the wall to start things off. No extra gateways beyond that, so just 2 to start things. But overall, that's not exactly the most common setup, because he's, had to just do this anyway. There's a 3rd gateway actually at the back.
Yeah, this is already an indicator that he wants to be aggressive. And also, he's rallying his Stalker towards the 3rd base of the Zerg. So he knows that speed might be a little bit late. He has to kill the Zerglings, though. Okay, they're running away.
Yeah, certainly doesn't want that gate at the back to be spotted, that's for sure. As he should be able to block all information, really. I mean, aside from the fact that there's no gases that natural, but they're becoming extremely fast at this point. So, in the end, can Wellmu actually do anything with this?
Yeah, he's not sending out a probe, and his Stalker is staying back. He's maybe a little bit afraid of a Zergling run-by, and the Overlord will actually spot everything, the Forge and the 3rd gateway. And we don't have a probe on the map, so whatever Wellmu will try to do, I don't think it will be aggression from this point. He might get a very fast 3rd, or just will focus on upgrades and getting a Twilight Council, for example.
Well, as I was talking about before, Golden, with his Zergling up to the top left, was scouting out a lot of locations, making sure that nothing crazy was going on, knowing how much he delayed Wellmu early on, well, just by a little bit, that is. And now, Wellmu kind of has to take, I would say, a middle road option. He's getting +1. Adding on another gateway. This is,
It's definitely a freestyle build order so far. He wants to take his third base. There are 14 Zerglings in production. I don't think that 14 Zerglings will be able to deny the Nexus, but Golden had a very good scout with his Zerglings, so he saw the timing of that.
Can he do anything aggressive to put on pressure there?
14 Zerglings. I mean, if Velmu is not in position at all, they might be able.
I was about to say that was a lot of overlords on the way. He had 4 on the way at a time, but he's just gone back into drones. So maybe he thinks that this is enough to at least tickle away at this location. Ro16 and Evolution Chamber actually going down.
That wall off.
Wow.
5 gateways. And this is a good indicator. I think that we might see a third Nexus, but with almost no probes on it, because so far we see that the probe production is completely stopped for a while.
Yeah, so he could actually just be feigning this in essence, but with seeing 4 gateways at that location for that wall off, what else has he really seen? Has he seen the extent to how many gateways are down? He only knows about 1 less than the actual total number. So there's still quite a lot of gateways across those 2 positions.
And look at this. This has to be an aggressive move. So many sentries being warped in. His +1 is almost finished. He's getting a few additional pylons, so he can actually warp in units. And I think he will move out. Yeah, the probe is moving forwards. He's getting a pylon there. And I could see him moving out. He does have the recall, so in case Welmu has enough units, he will just recall home and try to work from there on.
And he has sent that hallucinated Phoenix in to see that there is an infestation pit and things going down. So he's got to be a little bit wary, surely, because he doesn't really have extended tech beyond just gateway units. So he has to do something now, right?
He has to go, yeah. That's a very good point, because as you mentioned, road speed and the infestation pit is on the way. Golden is gearing up for a counterattack, but I don't know. I don't think that will do too much. Just warp in a few Zealots. They have +1 against the 0-0 Zerglings. They will clean them up very easily.
One Swarm Host is on the way, but the Stalkers as well as Sentries are already straying on to creep, and Spine Crawlers have started, but they're quite late at this point. And if you can actually establish yourself here as a Protoss and split things up here with the force fields, this third is just going to be completely barren. Oh, catches the drones as well. A really nice pickup here for Welmu, who just plows across the map and starts doing damage.
He's losing his pylon, though. He might be able to get 1 more warp in there. Yeah, the Zealots, they're getting in, and they still have +1 against 0-0. He's actually getting the Roach attacks, so even though when the upgrade will finish, I think he has enough firepower.
Needs even more force fields, throws them down to seal off some of those Roaches, and at the same time, he didn't really have so many Zealots there to really tank a lot of those Zerglings, so they did do something for a while, but there's still a lot of force fields available here for Welmu, who's sat on top of this third base, making it very, very difficult for Golden to do much of anything.
And the pylon is still alive. Welmu is back to pro production, so he will take out the third. He might will go for a recall right now, and there we go. Yeah, good call. Very well played so far by Welmu.
Yeah, good call. Well done with the damage. Now having to transition on behind this. Twilight Council as well as Robo Facility. He saw 1 Swarm Host during all of that and actually killed it off. So he kind of got an idea and a feel of what his opponent wanted to do after seeing the infestation pit anyway. But behind this, can he just fall back on the 3 bases and keep playing a normal game?
Yeah, look at it. He already has the 5th and 6th gas at the third base. He's chrono boosting all of his 3 Nexuses. And the third base is almost fully saturated. It's 15 probes right now. He's getting 3 more. Blinkers on the way. The Robo. He definitely needs an Observer, because Burrow might be something that can bring him back into the game, or Swarmos, as you mentioned. Because he's getting 1 more. 1 additional one. He just doesn't have the money for more Swarmos right now.
He actually had to cancel Enduring Locust during all of that because he realized the aggression was coming. It was never going to finish in time for him to really hold on. So adding it on once again, trying to get up to that very, very annoying composition to deal with. But Welmu is sitting pretty right now. He's doing okay. A second Robo as well.
Yeah, this is... He identified the only thing that could delay the game is the Swarm Host.
Yeah.
And if the Protoss is ahead in economy, that far ahead like he is right now, double Colossus production is extremely strong, because the Zerg needs a certain amount of Swarm Host before he can transition into Vipers.
And overall, I mean, Golden has to be kind of careful. He's only got 12 Roaches as well as a few Lings on the field. It's going to be up to the Swarm Hosts, obviously, to hold on at that third base. But as I said, he needs the economy. He needs to be able to deal with the heightened economy of Welmu across these 3 bases. So I think once the... Well, we've used this phrase quite a lot in WCS, but the war machine is kicking in here for Welmu. It's going to be difficult to deal with here for Golden.
Welmu tried to chase down the army, but wasn't really wasn't really working for him. He does have a War Prism on the right side, so we will see attack on the third while the War Prism is landing in the main. And it's going to be so hard for Welmo to defend both locations, who is actually supply blocked just now, 126 to 126. No Overlord in production, so whatever is warped in, it's going to deal so much damage.
Gold base is not going to get up anytime soon here. It has to be cancelled, but at the same time, this army can't sit around.
Yeah.
It's going to try and force field some of these units in. Good force fields to catch a lot of those roaches. Needs to negate the positioning of the Locust, though, because right now he has no detection. He has no AoE to be able to shut down the Locust, or, well, I mean, the detection to even get on top of the Swarm host anyway. So it's just bouncing around and running away, because he doesn't even have energy for a recall after using the Time Warp.
Yeah, that's true, and some of the force fields weren't perfect, so he's actually using a lot of energy just to get away. The War Prism flew in very late, actually, just now, so Golden had the time to send his units back. Welmo might opt for a very big Zealot Warp in. There we go. Around 8 Zealots, but I think the War Prism will die before. Oh, very close.
Just barely is able to get a lot of these Zealots out, and trading against these Lynx is a nice start for him. Meanwhile, running away on the left-hand side as well. So Welmo's trying to multitask this out, but look at the supplies. Golden needs more units. He needs more Swarm hosts to be able to hold on and eventually get this gold base up, because he absolutely has to have that economy.
Yeah, look at this. The 4th base is going up for the Protoss. Basically the same time as the Zerg is getting his 4th, and I think we do have, yeah, 73 probes. That's actually quite a lot. It's 10 more than the Zerg has right now. When do we ever see that?
Not often, not often, my friend. And I'm surprised at how slowly we're seeing Welmo actually bring his Observer. Oh, I mean, of course, he knows he's never going to get on top of the Swarm host, but if there was that opportunity to catch, how well has this Colossus number been spotted, though? Because right now, I don't think he knows anything about these Colossus numbers at the back. 4
of them are waiting. The 5th one is getting out. Charge slots are moving into the natural right now, while the 4th base is once more under attack. And good spread by the Swarm host, though, so he will be able to maybe defend both bases.
I gotta say, Welmo is playing a slightly unorthodox but strong game here. And he has energy for a recall in 2 seconds as well. Oh, wow. Welmo gets out, and he can just retreat back to his very, very strong force with those Colossi.
And you know what? This is the point where you warp in like 6 or 7 High Templars, you get Archons, you Chrono Boost out the additional Colossus, you get your +3, and then you just A-move and most likely win the game because you're so far ahead. Your army is going to be so strong.
Yeah.
Especially if there is no Viper on the map. He does have the Hive. Is he building a Viper yet? No, he isn't. He has to wait for his Overlords. We will see if he starts the Viper right away after the Overlords are finished.
He has to assume. I mean, an Overseer went in and had a little bit of a look around and eventually did gauge there was double Robo, etc. But now he doesn't really have a whole lot to deal with these Colossi. Look, we're up to 7 Colossi against... now he starts the Vipers, 4 of them. But if Welmo went, it'd be very, very difficult to really deal with.
Yeah, Welmo has to go now. The longer he waits, the more resources he has to put into defending the Vipers as well. Like having High Templars around.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a very... like stalemate situation. You have to get the feedbacks off. If you don't, then they pull your Colossus, then you have to retreat. Things like that are very annoying. Even though you had the lead, the Zerg can survive. So
yeah,
Welmo should go now. The Vipers are about to pop, and well, they still have to consume energy, but they might well have 1 abduct each.
And that's a good point you bring up, that stalemate situation that we see in these games, because that's one of the main reasons we saw Welmo actually add a Stargate on behind this. He hasn't used it yet, of course, but there is the opportunity for him to transition on to extra tech that he would need to break that kind of stalemate situation.
Yeah, Welmo's suffering a little bit, I don't know, like not attacking. He definitely had the window. Now he's at 200 supply, he's going for it, but Golden kind of catched up. 170 supply. He does have, how many Swarmers do we have on the map?
Around 20, I think.
Yeah, 18 and 5 Vipers.
This is still a strong Protoss ball, though. This is very strong. Guardian Shield has gone up. He's looking for a fight. Blinding Clouds actually happen on the ramp, and he pulls one of the Colossi away. So, for now, though, there's still a lot of firepower where that came from. An Archon gets abducted.
And that was 500 gas just now. 1 Colossus 200, the Archon is 300. The minerals are not that important for the Protoss in this phase of the game because he is on 4 bases. He's getting his 5th. But now we see, yeah, he lost 2 units to the abduct, and now he's retreating. He knows it's very hard to break the Zerg right now. He definitely missed his timing window. It was a small one, but there was definitely the chance for him to move across the map right after the recall.
Yeah, yeah. The severity of the situation now for Wellmu with that stalemate, obviously, I mean, look what he's doing. With the initial Stargate that we mentioned before, there's the Fleet Beacon, there's 3 more Stargates. Wellmu is going to look to play this out a whole lot longer with just harassment on the left-hand side with Zealots, that Warp Prism in the main base with Zealots, and eventually Dark Templars to make it even harder here for Golden.
Yeah, he's trying to get rid of his Zealots and his Stalkers, and eventually the Sentries as well. These are the units that are basically completely useless in the later stages against Swarm hosts. You don't want to throw them away completely, you want to get some decent trades. Velmo might get into a position where he can take off the static defense. But yeah, the Vipers are coming already. He has to be careful.
Yes, he does. He's hitting in 3 places at once, so this is very, very intense. As 3 Colossi get pulled forwards, only 1 dies. Good force fields to prevent the reinforcement from those Locusts to catch another one. So not too bad, because he killed a lot of drones off at that 3rd base.
But will it be enough? Will it be enough to kill drones right now? The army is the scary point here. The Locusts are chasing the Colossus. Can he get some adducts? I believe he will be, and this is so expensive for Wellmu.
There's no High Templars there to actually feed back those Vipers, so no. You lucky fella, you lucky fella. Well, there's some more Zealot harassment going on in the main base. Actually going for the +3 carapace. That's a really nice pickup.
It's a very nice one. He wanted to kill the Hive, but he saw with the amount of Spine Crawlers, it's not going to work, so he was aiming for both Evo Chambers, and he's force fielding in the Zerg.
Oh, wow.
Oh my god.
He's going to lose his Hive. He's going to lose everything in here. This is a great move by Wellmu, who was pressuring at the front, drawing all the attention away from there. Now this harassment, if these force fields continue to land, he's going to try and abduct them down, because he knows that those sentries are a big, big point of contention, but there's even more there. Wasting abducts at this point on sentries is certainly not something you want to be doing by Golden, because now this gives this army free reign to move maybe over to the gold.
And Velmo is gearing up for another attack. He doesn't have Storm, so he can storm down the Locusts in the middle of the map. It's definitely, he just started Storm right away after he realized what's going on.
And the Hive has fallen.
Yeah.
The Hive has fallen, so if a Viper dies during all of this, it's going to be bad. He's going to lose his Roach Run, Spawning Pool, Infestation Pit, and he's killing off drones at this 3rd base. Big abducts. Get a lot of those Colossi, pull those straight into the Locust. They fall down. What a game to start things off.
Oh my god, the unit lost that just took a huge spike in favor of Golden. I mean, he's down, the main base just died, so all his tech is gone, but Wellmu does have more income, so he can throw away some units, but throwing away 5 Colossus, or 4 I think, is really hurting him right now.
Yeah, well, starting +2 weapons, 4 Tempests on the way. The Golden Armada is about to commence pretty soon here for Wellmu, who is sitting back at home, not really feeling too pressured at all. His supply count is down, but can Golden do much with his army right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, Wellmu needs some time before he gets the, as you called it, the Golden Armada up, and he's actually killing all the Queens of Golden right now. So he will get some more time, some nice harassment with the Stalkers as well. And let's say if he gets to a point where he has around, I guess like 6 Void Rays, plus a filled up supply with Tempest, maybe Storm, and a few Colossus. I don't even know if he will rebuild Colossus at this point, though. I think it's going to be hard for Golden to be aggressive at all. But what he can do is drag out the game.
Yes.
And drag it out for a very, very long time, actually.
Yeah. And that's right now what it's gearing up to be. The Warp Prism actually has 2 High Templars in it, so there is the opportunity for even Storm drops on these mineral lines.
And sentries to trap the drones.
Oh, geez.
Will we see that in a pro game?
If he is able to actually execute that properly, then that is going to be glorious, but... Well, there's a few more Spore Crawlers being added on, because Golden is just also stalling out himself. He knows that the air toss is something that is going to be coming out here from Wellmu here, since Golden can't really continue on too much pressure, and he's going to have to hunker down and just have tons of static defense to complement his Swarm hosts.
Yeah, that's true, and he's adding 3 more Spines, as you mentioned, more Spores, 5 more Spines. He's going to get 6 Corruptors and a single Infester. He doesn't have money for more, so the Warp Prism is flying in. As we said before, it has 2 Sentries and 2 High Templars.
There's not that many drones to deal with on this location, so he's going to go elsewhere.
But the 3rd one looks juicy to me.
Yeah, there are 71 drones on this map, but where are they all? This is goes for the swarms on this base and traps a few in as well. Catches a few in the end.
It looked good. It looked good.
Yeah, it looked quite nice. It was fireworks. 59 workers have been killed overall by Wellmu, so He's certainly not doing too badly. Oh, doesn't get that warping in the end.
Look at the supply on the banks. It's very similar. One Mutalisk is on the way, by the way. I guess that's a misclick, but...
The dreaded one Mutalisk.
Maybe it will trigger Velmo to build a few Phoenixes when he spots one Muta. He's like, okay, when there's one, there's going to be 15 more on the map.
Yeah. But does Velmo understand completely how much he's done a lot of damage to his opponent's economy? I mean, Golden's reeling from that position.
But can he kill him? Can he kill him right now? I don't think so. I don't think he can kill him. Look at this. And the creep spread is pretty good. It's almost at the natural of the Protoss right now, gearing up to the third as well. And Velmo is, Golden is slowly crawling forward with his Swarmers, with his Vipers, and of course the static defense. For Zerg, I mean, you can uproot, you can just reposition it to be more aggressive with it.
Yeah. Well, looks like he's going to try and put some pressure on at that one base for Velmo down at the bottom left.
But that will die.
Yeah, it's going to always be difficult to establish that base with how far the creep is now pushed up here for Golden. But still, Velmo is gathering such an impressive force. And there's a 12 Corruptors. It's going to be about Spore Crawlers and Abduct into that mothership. Real mothership now on the way.
Velmo needs to get rid of a few probes. He has 10 Void Rays and 10 Tempest. That's a good army. But I don't think it's good enough to break the Swarmos player right now. So if he gets rid of, like, let's say 20 probes and fill it up with more army supply, he might be able to overrun the Zerg.
He may be able to. A few Zealots in here going to work because there's actually no ground force outside of just Locusts, really, and some Fungals. So going to town, doing all right for themselves, but in the end they will be shut down.
And there's not a single Spine. It's pretty funny. All the Locusts have to chase 2 Zealots there. And he's sending out a few more Locusts to kill the 5th Nexus. It's actually the 6th, right? Yeah, we have 4 bases, 5, 6. Finally goes down.
To deal with this army straight up, Hasu, doesn't Golden have to have like a certain amount of bank to then be able to keep making a lot of Corruptors?
No, he's just going to abduct. He's just going to abduct constantly. He's not going to fight. Look at this. I think he killed an Archon and 4 High Templars just now. I think all the High Templars died. Yeah, we are down to 2 High Templars. With basically, the mothership.
Oh, well, that was an expensive loss.
Yeah.
But in the end, I mean, the 7 Vipers that he actually has out are doing good work for him. And having so many in your composition means that you can just keep abducting, which is exactly what you said he's going to be doing.
Yeah, he will avoid almost every straight up engagement unless he has a million spores or spines underneath his Corruptors and nearby the Swarmos. What he has to do, he has to make sure that he has enough spines and spores around his 3rd and 4th, because these are the mining bases. I mean, the gold is running out. He kills so much probes, it's actually good for Velmo, so he can finally fill up with a little bit more army supply.
Whoa, those are some big pickups, and actually some good fungal growths as well to chain with that. So those few Tempests at the front are going to die up quickly. Storms to try and aid and push back those Corruptors, but they merely get tickled during all of that. So that was a very expensive trade for Velmo in the end.
And there were no Locusts fighting with his army. The High Templars actually got in range of Feedback and Storm. Usually there are Locusts, but they were running around the other side.
You bring up a good point, because he lost 4 Vipers during all of that, and that's an expensive loss as well. So
does he have a Hive,
blow for blow?
Yes, no, he only has a lair. So every Viper he loses, he can't replace. He has to realize he has to upgrade his lair.
He really does. He really does. And he has to be careful as well with how much he's actually going to do at the front. The 2 Oracles there for Revelation to try and obviously keep an eye on this army if he's going to be pushing forwards. But still, it's a little bit difficult. He just never wants to get abducted, and sadly he has to go into very, very close quarters if he wants to do something.
This is so big that he has no Hive, because now he's down to 3 Vipers, as you mentioned. And if Revelation plus the Tempest Focus Fire, let's say, guns down 2 more Vipers, he's down to only a single abduct
it's going to be very difficult.
And then I think Velmo can actually take this fight. The thing is that he's building Queens in his lair. He can't even upgrade it right now.
Oh well, this is some other small of the static defense is going to go down. These Zealots keep trying to poke away, but the Locust waves are actually being controlled very well by Golden to keep shutting that down, because he doesn't want to be losing any more drones, that's for sure. But Velmo's also doing a really good job of keeping these fights on this right-hand side and denying that right-hand base, which is actually fully there. I mean, it's got all the minerals there, but Golden cannot get access to it.
Golden, on the other hand, is shutting down the left base of the Protoss, right? So they're both doing a good job. The alignment is used, and Golden is disengaging. That's very good for him.
Yeah, absolutely has to retreat back to those Spore Crawlers. He does obviously have a lot of Corruptors still available, and he actually didn't hit any of those Corruptors with that, but Revelation on that one Infestor below is giving him a good opportunity to get a few volleys off here as well. Some of the Infestors walk forwards, unfortunately, do die off.
And solid Fungal, at least, shutting down the Void Rays movement. Now, finally, he found out that he has to rebuild the Hive. He was building queens and queens and queens out of the lair. Now he finally realized he needs to get some Vipers.
Yeah, he's down to that one Viper that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So this is quite a bad spot for Golden. That if Wellmu realizes it, he could continue to poke on forwards without any risk at all.
But can you count on your opponent for getting his Hive structure for such a long time?
Yeah, difficult.
Like, can you really make the call now? Okay, I gunned down 2 Vipers. Let's go for it. He's not building any additional ones. That's very, very tough situation. And we saw Wellmu was a little bit hesitant before in the mid-game when he had the huge advantage, because it looked like he didn't want to throw it away. But that actually put him into this situation where he has to fight so hard for this win, even though he did such a good job in the early mid-game.
Well, that's shown by 80 workers killed so far by Wellmu, who just continues on with that Zealot harassment. Now we're down to 30 drones for Golden.
Golden almost used up all of his bank, so he has to secure the base on the right side. And by the way, his control is very, very good with the Swarmo style. He has a lot of practice with this on the European server, but he's draining his bank, so it will be tough for him to replace any gas units that he's losing right now. Be it an Infestor or even Corruptors are expensive at this stage of the game for him.
And the Vipers that are currently on the way. I mean, 2 of them now, but having only 3 in this army, whilst Wellmu is still, you know, bringing in a bit of gas here and there, is going to allow him to continue to add on Tempest. So this game could technically still go on for quite a while, but he's getting a lot of the static defense in mid.
Yeah, for free. Even with a few Zealots on the right side, he was able to kill a few Spores. He's going to get the hatchery at the 3rd base of Golden. That means even less gas income there.
Good job, 2 Zealots. Doing a lot of work. And Oracle's going to fly forwards, looking for another Revelation on this army. Gets it.
And basically on every unit, the most important units you want to track are the Vipers.
Yeah.
And basically what you have to control now is make sure that your Tempests are killing the Vipers. If you can kill the Vipers, you want to kill the Infestors. These are the most important units to bring down.
21 or 20, well, okay, a few keep dying. Spore Crawlers here, still on the map. So it's technically a lot of anti-air, but it's very static, and of course they need to be in tandem with those Vipers right now, which, again, there's only 4 of. But also he wants those Infestors out. 2 can join that together with a Fungal Growth. What are you doing, Mutalist? Have you really done anything yet?
That's 1 kill. He killed 1 Zealot.
Oh, good job. Good job,
little
boy.
Wellmu is doing a very good job on the right-hand side, fighting with the Zealots against only 4 Spine Crawlers. He might even be able to take down this hatchery with pure Zealots.
Well, when the 3-2-1 upgraded, I was about to go to them and be like 3-3-3, but no, we're at 3-2-1 upgrades for those Zealots. They're still quite tanky anyway. Get that hatchery, which is very, very annoying for Golden. He is actually bleeding out right now. That's the big, big problem here for Golden.
He's getting both bases that are mining minerals right now. The Stalkers are engaging the Swarmos. But Wellmu has to be careful. The Mothership is not with it, so he can't recall out.
That's a good Fungal. And he doesn't even get 1 Swarm Host in the end for those Stalkers, so has to be very, very careful indeed, you're right.
He never rebuilt the Mothership core. That's definitely not intentional. I guess he wants to have it around. But I guess he was pretty upset when the Mothership just died for free.
Yeah.
He was like, nah, I'm not going to rebuild you.
That's a lot of investment, it really is.
It is very expensive.
And also with how many Corruptors he actually has out now, it's 42 Corruptors. With only 4 High Templars, so the Storms need to be pretty good to actually bring down a lot of those. Oh, the Corruptors have to be very, very clumped up. They're going to do a lot of damage.
But don't forget that Void Rays are extremely strong against Corruptors.
How many does he have?
He
13.
has, and he's building 2 more. He does have, I think, 1 or 2 Archons underneath the army as well. So if they get a very good splash with a Storm together, if Golden is clumped up like this...
Going straight in, catches 2 of those units, but those Storms...
Oh, the High Templars are dying.
Storms did a lot of... Yeah, you're right. And having a Mothership is the big boon of having those High Templars defended, right? Because you need that cloak so that the Locusts aren't killing off your High Templars, so he doesn't have it.
And look at the supply. Golden is at 190 against 170, and Wellmu feels the pressure. He wants to go for it. It's huge Fungal actually hit almost all of the Void Race here.
That was a brilliant one, and the High Templars are just straying forwards, and they could die off if more Locust actually spawn right here, right now. A few more grabs forwards. Those Corruptors, there's so many of them that they're really not dying off just yet, and he's lost every single one of his High Templars. So it's just going to be up to these Void Rays. There's only 4 of them, along with the Tempest behind this, but there's so many Corruptors.
And that's without spores underneath. They are he's just fighting the air army straight up, and it looks like Golden made it possible.
Wow.
His control with the Swarmos Viper style is extremely good, and I heard that several times. I think some of the Protosses told me how good he actually utilizing his Vipers.
This is great for Golden. He's just killing off the rest of the Tempest. They are going to fall. Wellmu's supply absolutely plummets. GG. Wow. Game number 1 goes to Golden.
I guess he feels a little bit dirty after this game, though.
That game was not what I expected to start the day with. But there you go. Golden shows us that he is still very, very strong in this kind of late game style. And look at him. Wellmu can't believe it. He's like,
he's like, are you kidding me?
Oh,
so, okay, 2 little things. Like, if I would have to give Wellmu an advice, and I guess he's better than me, but from what I saw, and he will actually agree if he watches the replay, that after the recall in the mid game, like, he warps in Archons and he just goes for an attack because Vipers were not there. But obviously, as a player, it's so hard to have the feeling for that. I mean, he saw the Hive was done, so he's like, of course he's going to have Viper. Like, why wouldn't he have any Vipers yet? And he was ahead, so he thought, okay, if I take another base and go for an attack with maxed out 200 supply, I should win. But at that point, he got abducted and he felt the pressure already. He had to retreat, and it transitioned into a very long game. And the second point I had in mind is that I think he overproduced probes a little bit.
It was at 73.
Yeah,
that was quite a lot.
Having a few less probes and maybe the difference in income would help him. But that's just 2 minor things, I believe. Other than that, he played very well. While Golden, I'd say, once he reached that point he wanted to reach, he looked incredibly strong.
Yes, he did. He did. And it's not, well, I say it's not too often you see that many Corruptors out at any one time, but at the same time, it's a very, very strong composition, especially if you're able to get rid of those High Templars, as we saw Golden do. But was that at the fault of Wellmu, ultimately, without having a mothership, etc., to cloak things? I mean, all these things add up in the end.
And it was a very good call by Golden to get a second Spire to double upgrade his air units, even though he was pretty low on economy. I think he was down to like 30, 40 drones for a long time of the game.
Yes, yes.
But it was still a good call to get double upgrades, since Wellmu had very strong air upgrades as well. And you need the Corruptors to kind of stay even upgrade-wise.
Yeah, he got to 2-2, was able to plow down that air army of the Protoss. Let's get into game number 2 between Wellmu and Golden now. Golden currently leads 1-0. Looking good in that first game. Is Wellmu going to change it up? As we have Nimbus our map spawning up to the top right-hand corner, currently 1 game up representing Alien Invasion. It is Golden. And down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our blue Protoss representing Neurosoft. It's our Finn. It is Wellmu.
And Nimbus is the map pick of Wellmu here. The first map, Overgrowth, was the pick of Golden from the last 3 remaining, I mean. Then Wellmu had his pick, and it was Nimbus over the very last map, which is going to be King Sejong Station. And he wanted to go for Nexus first on Overgrowth, so we can be sure that he's going for Nexus first on Nimbus, I would say. Because even though the early game was very messy, he was in a very good position in the mid game. Like, he did some extremely good stuff, and actually he's going for a gateway first, so he's going... I mean, there's still the Nexus behind this. It is possible, but he might change it up, and we do see the gas.
I mean, is there, with Wellmu looking at game number 1 and seeing how strong his opponent is in the late game, is there potential that we could just see something very aggressive here?
Kill him before.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice against Swarmhost? Yes, kill him before.
Yeah. I think after seeing that first game, he's like, well, he was really gun-ho on getting to Swarmhost. I don't think I want to deal with that anymore.
Yeah, and I can definitely understand that. So, 13 gate, he's getting the gas. We could see something similar that Sun did last week, like the 4-gate pressure into Immortal all-in, something along these lines. Hedge first into Pool by Golden. I think he wanted to take the 3rd hedge, because the drone was moving out, but he saw the probe moving in, so he decided against it. Not 100% sure, though. Maybe it was just to scout anyways.
Yeah. Well, Probe got up there, saw the hatch, all is good. Back in Wellmu land, adding on his cybernetics core and just rallying a Zealot out very, very fast here. Rallied straight over to his opponent's base to start things off.
I'm not 100% sure what Wellmu is going for. Is it going to be one phase 4 gate?
Well,
he's saving up his chrono boost.
Yeah, I was about to say. He's got two chrono boosts in there.
No, the probe is going to the next.
He's chrono boosting, though, into the warp gate.
Oh
so he could Nexus and then just add on a few more gates to put on very, very quick gateway aggression.
Wow, such a tricky build again by him. Look at this. Putting out a little bit of aggression with the Zealot, delaying his Mothership core because he knows there was hatchery first. I mean, that's what he scouted, so Zerglings usually don't walk into your main base that quickly. And then spending the second chrono boost on the Mothership core.
Yeah, so... Well,
I like it.
It does speed up. The first chrono boost obviously had a nice speed up of that warp gate, so there is potential that he can still be pretty aggressive, as the Overlord right now hasn't seen anything. Really wants to get in there and have a little bit of a look around.
Speed is on the way for Golden, so he plays it safe. No third hatchery yet. Given that the first chrono boost was spent on the Cyber Core, the Overlord will have a very hard time to spot the difference in the upgrade timing. I mean, it's just a little bit, but it can throw the Zerg off guard if Wellmu is deciding to utilize his quicker warp gate here.
Yeah, Zealot's actually spotting the third base. Not going down just yet, but drones coming down there, so that will be blocked for just a little bit by Wellmu, which is not too bad.
And 2 Zerglings are not enough to kill 1 Zealot. 4 are not going to be enough either, especially if it takes the sweet spot between the minerals up there. 2
gateways at the front to complete the idea of a wall off. So only the 3 gateways just now, as he hasn't seen the extra 2 at the front, but still with that chrono boost into the warp gate, is there even a probe out to do anything? I don't think so.
No, not yet. Microing his Zealot as hard as he can. Good control by Golden there, only losing 2 Zerglings. The others are very injured, and the Mothership score is coming to clean up.
She's on the hunt. She's on the hunt. And unfortunately, he's going to have to bypass them. Those Zerglings would be able to outrun anyway. It's looking like a pretty similar build from Wellmu, all in all, to last game.
Looks like it. He's getting the Forge behind this. The Overlord will scout pretty much everything together with the Zerglings. I mean, if he starts into warp a lot of sentries once more, up to like 9, 10, I believe, is what he had on Overgrowth, he might want to go for an attack once more.
But now we have to consider the idea, does he actually like feign this image, because he's spreading pylons out around his bases, so he could hide extra buildings once this Overlord has gone away, and maybe just make it look like the previous build, but try and do something completely different. Yeah, you've always got to give Wellmu these kinds of satisfactions.
Just keep in mind that he took the 3rd Nexus on Overgrowth as well, just not building probes. So if he takes the 3rd Nexus and continuously building probes, as an observer, it's very easy to say, okay, he's not going for the same attack. But in Golden Shoes, you're like, okay, you scout the 3rd Nexus, but you have in mind, like, this guy just walked across the map anyways. Like,
well, a few spores being added on. I think did he actually see the hallucinated Oracle? He must have done, because unless he was just blindly throwing them down to deal with anything like that. But
he canceled both spores, so
okay.
Whatever he saw, he knew it was a trick. Wellmu should... It's actually very funny, yeah. It's just to mind game your opponent. He doesn't even scout with the Oracle. That's a little bit weird. Just expires on the left side of the map.
Oh, well. So we actually have a pylon going down in vision of, well, in vision of the Overlord at the 3rd base. So Roach Warren, 22 Zerglings, being a little bit careful. But this, in essence, I mean, the army is moving out in the middle, but with this being spotted in the units that are coming out for Golden, I don't think he should be able to do much with this, unless the force fields are brilliant.
Well, I mean, on Overgrowth, he took down almost every single drone on the 3rd, killing the hatchery as well.
He's actually sacrificing a lot of Zerglings for that pylon. We'll get it in the end, and considering there's no probe out here, it's very difficult to actually reinforce from this position. So it's all on these sentries and zealots. I don't think this is going to be too successful.
There's no Roach War. There's a Roach War,
but
he doesn't have any Roaches, so good force fields and +1 zealots will actually crush the Zerglings.
Okay, I underestimated the idea of this attack, but he's trying to go for the sentries with those Zerglings. They have to get out of there, though, because the zealots were trying to pin them down as well. He's got to be very careful about how he maneuvers this.
I mean, he has a lot of force fields. Still not a single roach in production. I think Velmu can take this fight here.
Trying to kill off some of these spine crawlers that stray on forwards. Only 2 workers have been killed so far, but actually those were for Golden, as Velmu has to pull away. There's not enough firepower there with Sentry. There's all the space control in the world, but if you can't do proper damage to the drone line, then
just imagine the pylon is going up. He has like 1 or 2 more round of warp-ins. He would be probably able to kill the third hatchery.
I mean, on the other side of things, at least he forced out a lot of Zerglings. At least he was able to kill off a lot of those. Not for too much, and he does have a recall available to him, so he keeps poking and prodding. There's more force fields. He's going to trade off more Zerglings, trying to get on top of these spine crawlers as well. He's still very adamant about this push.
Nice transfuse by Golden there, saving the spine crawler, because the spine crawler is basically the defense who actually has the DPS to kill the Zealots right now and the sentries. And Golden is just going for Swarmos straight away. He's on almost 70 drones, pure Zerglings, like not a single roach has been built. He's getting the Enduring Locust, and he's going to spend every single little bit into Swarmos right now.
It's funny how this game's worked out, because if you look at comparison of game number 1, Golden has got to where he wanted to be from game number 1 quicker in game number 2, but likewise Velmu didn't commit as much to that push, and as such has a good drone probe saturation on his third. So it's, I mean, looking at this, I still give a little bit of an edge to Golden because his Swarmhosts are now so close towards his opponent's third.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you there. I felt on the first map, Velmu did some very good things in the mid game, killing the third hatchery, killing like 15 drones or something, while now he almost killed nothing. The hive is on the way at minute 12, so very quick hive here. We do have a warp prism in place, so maybe he can somehow snipe it down, because there is almost no defense besides a few Zerglings, and just now he's getting up the spine crawlers. But it seems like it will take it takes too long, most likely. The spines will be up.
The Colossus numbers are going to be on the rise pretty soon with that double robo, but again, he had a big window of time to get those numbers up and running last game as opposed to this game. So it's going to be all about the Warp Prism harass to buy him some time.
Yeah, and Golden sees the robo at the third base, so he might suspect it is the second robo, unless Velmu puts the first one at the third base, which is possible, but you don't see that too often. Can Velmu maneuver around the Swarmos, because they are in a position where it's no creep spread at all? Well, Golden has to wait a little bit longer to actually get his Tumors over there. This is definitely risky what he's doing right now.
It's a good point that you bring up, though, about just in this map in general. Gets a robo for those Locusts alone, that's nice. But because the middle of this map is so open, it makes it a little bit harder for the Locusts to kind of shut down all these angles, but he might get some good surface area on these sentries, bringing down 1 or 2 already very fast with those Zerglings. Good extra force fields to hold that off, though, in the end by Velmu.
Yeah, but also good movement by Golden already. The Swarmos are splitting up. A few are going to the third, the others are going to the fourth. So he's going to defend both places at the same time with the amount of Locusts they can spawn. The Warp Prism has been shut down. I don't know where it is. Okay, it's on the top left right now. And yeah, I mean, you block out the Locusts, but you don't achieve anything, right, with his attack. I mean, maybe the Warp Prism in the main base will do a little bit more, though.
You say don't achieve anything, but I want to kind of pick your brains a little bit in terms of this is keeping the majority of Golden's army on the defensive, right?
Yeah.
Whilst Velmu is trying to scramble and set up at home. So does that help him a little bit during this?
Definitely. That's a very good point. And especially if Golden loses track of the army, like he's right now, maybe Velmu gets into a very good position to snipe that third hatchery.
Because it's only 4 Swarmhosts really putting on offensive capability back at home, whilst he's pressuring in the main base, pushing at this third base as well. Good force field and trying to shut down all these Locusts chasing, and he's getting a few drone kills.
Yeah, and that's actually very well played. He managed to trick Golden a little bit. Golden lost the army of Velmu. Oh, the Mothership Core, wow, 12 HP.
Jeez, that was close. Uh-oh. Oh, Nexus. Oh, Nexus. Well, gets a few outs in
there.
And
that's 4 Swarmos sieging the Nexus.
Yeah. I'm like,
you're so right about, like, just imagine it's being like, how many do we have on the map? 21.
If he wasn't doing that dance up at the top, that would have been gone long time ago. But, well, you could make the argument that the Colossi would have been trying to hold that off, but, well, they were trying to hold off anyway.
Yeah. And there we do have the Locust moving forward now for the Nexus. Does he have some force fields to... Yeah, I think he will wall it off a little bit. Maybe just wait till they expire, because they were chasing. Oh, he even has to use a time warp.
Yeah, there's a few more zealots actually harassing up to the top left with that warp prism that's still gone, actually uncontested. Keeps warping on in.
Yeah, and there are no spines in the main, only at the natural. And not a single Swarmos at home as well, so a little bit indecisive here by Golden.
But he's got to hold down the fort at the third. He does not want that Nexus to die, absolutely. As the Zealots continue on, he has a fourth base down at the bottom left, so it's a little bit of an insurance policy while this is all going on. And how many workers has he lost? He's only killed 20 with all of this harassment, but Dark Templars in the mix. There's Overseers there, though. Getting a few Swarm hosts, just one.
He could have warped in the Sentry once again to wall off the entrance where the Swarmos just walked up. But in this game, he decided it's not worth it. Given the amount of pressure he's feeling on his own, maybe he just didn't have the time to think about that, you know? The Nexus being so low, there are Locust pushing all the time. He warped in 7 Dark Templars to make a few Archons. So this time he's trying to push over it, but the Vipers are long out. They actually, 3 of them with quite some energy, and the 4th one is on the way as well.
Yeah, and morphing in the Hive at the natural seems to have been the right choice here for Golden, as he did just lose his main. So definitely wants even more Vipers in this mix, as we already saw in game number 1. And whilst all of this Locust pressure is going on, he's having to waste energy using those force fields, and this army's not really accomplishing too much other than just holding on to that Nexus.
Yeah, and the Swarmos being surrounded. Actually,
he's just going around it.
Walking around the Locust, and Golden didn't see it. Does he have an Observer with his army? There's one behind it, yeah.
He's going to lose a lot of Swarmos here, a lot of Swarmos. The Locust pop at just the right time, but he's going to lose a few more of these. Has to get out of here. Blinding Cloud's going to try and help this out, but the Stalker's bringing down a few of those Vipers as well. He's right on top of the Swarmos. They can't get out. They're going to die. A lot of them are going to die off.
They're all blocked in by a single Stalker.
Okay, that's not good for Golden. He just lost a big chunk of his army, and now there's still 7 Colossi alive with this army. Wow. There you go. GG, Wellmu. What a play. What a decision.
And not a single abduct has been used in the fight. He was completely thrown off. This was the 2nd time in the game he lost track of the army of Wellmu, and he got punished twice. The first time, he only lost his 3rd hatchery, but the 2nd time, he lost his whole army.
And you got to consider, I mean, during all of that, if that didn't work for Wellmu, that Locust wave killed off the 3rd Nexus. Again, of course, he had that 4th one as well, which was going to kind of keep him going for a little bit. But losing economy kind of sucks, so you want that to actually pay off for you.
And we have to give a lot of benefit to the Warp Prism. It was still alive in the end. I saw it was still hovering around. It didn't harass anymore, but it was still alive. And it took so much focus for Golden to defend against the Harris in the main base. There were no spines. He had to burrow the swarm hosts, and like re-rallying stuff.
Yeah.
He even sent his Vipers back once, but he didn't snipe the Warp Prism. And obviously, this time we hadn't a single Mutalisk to gun down the Warp Prism.
Oh, that's true. That single muta.
Single muta. So maybe that could have made the difference.
Well, 3rd map is on the way. King Sage on station will be the choice between these, as Golden shoos away his adoring fans. Yeah. Or Patience, either one.
Patient wanted to give him an advice, but he's like, nah, I know how to play Swarmos. You don't have to tell me anything. And I guess he knows himself. He was in a fine position. Just losing track of the army is... And not having creep spread that route either, right? That was like the way he engaged was completely off creep, and the Swarmos being completely exposed. There were 5 spores, but no spines. And obviously no abducts. He used a few panic blinding clouds, but that's just not enough to keep them safe.
Well, Wellmu is contemplating his choices for game number 3, as he has said wait in the lobby. Look at him in deep thought.
Yeah, Protosses have a lot of build orders. He's like,
How many Immortals should I make?
Do I block the main ramp with a Sentry? Do I Immortal all in? Do I drop a Twilight Council for Dark Shrine? Do I Cannon Rush?
Oh, he'd love to do that. He'd love to do it. He's had some funky Cannon Rushes in the past, let me tell you that. They've been quite fun. Golden, meanwhile, he's like, how many Swarm hosts should I make this time?
Yeah, he's focused on the... You can definitely see his kind of choice. He's playing it very greedy. Like, not a single Roach, 0/0 Zerglings.
Right. Yeah.
If Wellmu understood what happened on Nimbus, and I'm pretty sure he knew if he has a pylon, he gets the third hatchery once more in the early game when he was pushing out. Because there were just Zerglings with 0/0 upgrades against +1 Zealots.
And he traded away tons. It was like, Funker pointed out, like 37 Zerglings to 1 Zealot.
Yeah.
So really good trades for him. If he'd have been able to reinforce, that could have been catastrophic.
Exactly. And maybe he's going for the same build again on King Sejong, just making sure that he has the pylon this time nearby.
All right, well, let's get into it. Game number 3, the decider. One of these is moving on to the winner's match. As we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, it's our Korean representative here, representing also Alien Invasion. It is Golden. And up to the top left-hand corner, equalizing things up in our first series of the day, representing Neurosoft, it's Welmu.
Yeah, up to that point, Golden played it pretty well overall. Just like missing 200 supply of the Protoss. Obviously, you will get punished if the Locusts are not in position. So, but up to that point, he defended his third well. I mean, he killed the pylon. That's why he was able to defend it. And then he was able to take advantage of his very greedy build, like getting the Swarmer straight away, getting 21 of them, I believe, getting the 12-minute hive. Sometimes you can get it even earlier if you want to, but 12-minute, I think it's a fair, it's pretty solid, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because the double Robo Colossus kicks in pretty late as well. And we saw the Vipers being out before the Colossus being there, so that was very well played by him. And I think without that huge mistake in the late game, he would have had a good shot of winning the game, because there was no transition for Welmu.
Yeah, no, you're right. I've still got to commend Welmu's dancing, though, overall. The ability to hold his opponent back whilst he was trying to set up at home, and holding the third for as long as he did with that, and then holding with the force fields and Colossi, I think was very, very important throughout that game.
Yeah, and this time, once again, he's going for a gateway before Nexus. He had his probe down there, so it looks like he wants to go gate into Nexus. Yeah, there's no gas being added yet. And this time there's no intention of the Zerg to actually deny the natural for as long as he did on Overgrowth.
Yeah. Well, Nexus on the way, as Ro just poking around at the front, not really doing too much, throwing down the extra pylon here. So a bit of a greedy opener for Welmu to start things off, as it's triple hatch. Yeah. Oh, Golden, lovely.
And that's the benefit of an early drone scout. You can make sure, does he have a forge, does he have a gas? Or like gateway gas, or is he going Nexus first? And this is a hybrid, like gate into Nexus, but no gas, so basically no aggression possible. So he knows hedge pool or hedge gas pool is definitely something I can go for. So he's getting for the greedy route once again.
All of this has been seen. Now Golden knows exactly when Cybernetics Core is going to be going down, and, you know, be able to keep an eye on things. He sees the Chrono Boost going into the Nexus, so he shouldn't be too fearful right now of anything really going on.
Yeah, there's nothing else you can spend on the Chrono Boost that early. I mean, the Cyber Core is still on the way. You don't really want to Chrono Boost the Zealots. I mean, there used to be some builds where you got like 3 Zealots and you walked across the map, but it's not really that strong, I would say, especially if the Overlord finds out that you spend Chrono Boost on the gateway.
And all in all, I've got to ask Hasu, how bad is this for Welmu, considering he didn't really go for any scout or anything like that, and he's not going to know about the triple hatchery before pull? How bad is that?
You can call it no scout at all, right?
Yeah.
So he has no idea that he's actually facing a Zerg that is trolling him a little bit. Like, he scouted him with a drone, and then he's like, okay, I'm just gonna get 3 hatches and drones. Nothing but drones, drones, drones.
Yeah.
I get my queens for inject for more drones. And Welmu will... No, actually, I thought his Stalker would move out, but yeah, he's waiting for sniping the Overlord, or for his Mothership Core to snipe the Overlord. So his scouting is extremely late. And whatever build he's planning for, it's not going to be feeling great, especially if he wants to be aggressive with it, because the Zerg will have more units than he usually has.
Well, I'm wondering if he was going to throw down an extra gateway and go at Sand style, but it looks like that's not going to be the case. It's just the 3 gateways for now.
Not with a Stalker as the opening. Like, you get the Zealot, you get the Sentry, then you add 3 more gateways, and then you go. You don't have the money for a Stalker if you go for that opening. And it's also not that good from the opening he was choosing, like the gateway into Nexus.
But look at Golden being so good with his scouting, skirting around on the very edge. Will he see the second gas as well? Well, I mean, he saw the first one already, so he's going to be assuming that, you know, plenty of gas is already being added on here for Wellmu.
Yeah, and the Zergling was scouting for all possible pylon positions on the left side, together with an Overlord. So very good scouting there. He will probably grab the Watchtower once he makes sure his Overlord survives. And yeah, just going to a very, very standard game from here. More drones, 8 on the way. Speed is almost done for him. And it's looking solid for him. Good scouting and very good economy behind this.
Same build for Wellmu overall. Forge being added on across these 3 gateways, but Chrono boosting out. Whoa, hello.
Okay.
So this Chrono boost going down, you crazy man. Could have had more probes out during all of that, but I guess he just wants extra sentries and wants to make it look aggressive. I mean, I think that could have been spent better elsewhere.
You mean the Chrono boost on the gateway?
Yeah.
It looked like, yeah. I think his warp gate was a little bit late, and the sentry was almost done, and warp gate was finished. So he was like, okay, just Chrono boost it, so I get my warp in a little bit quicker. That's how it looked like to me.
Okay.
Sometimes if we have the Chrono boost in spare, we're going to do that because his probe saturation is fine at this point. And is he? Yeah, he's actually going for the same attack, but this time it's only. No, it's still 8 sentries, and he's going to lose 2 of them, I believe.
Ooh, those Zerglings doing a really, really good job of going the wraparound, but the force fields are able to save them. All right, then. That was do or die, and they certainly did it.
That was pretty well done, and he only used 3 force fields for that, for saving 2 sentries. It's definitely worth it. Does he have a probe with this?
No,
there's
I don't
no
think
probe
so.
with this.
No.
And yeah, as an observer, we now can see Twilight Council double probe production.
Zerglings keep getting these wraparounds, bring down the Stalker at the front, and it's only sentries now out with this. I mean, what are you really going to do? That's a flood of Zerglings. He doesn't want to be losing this. He has to recall out if he's not careful. The force fields are going to hold them at bay for now, but the Zerglings just run straight on past, and he has to recall back, so he needs defense.
And once again, Golden is, after defending, getting his 4th hatchery. Infestation bit is on the way. He will start enduring Locust. He does have 2 Evo chambers. He does get the Roach speed, but once again, he's skipped every single Roach production so far.
But I think Golden has felt even more comfortable in this game than he did in the previous one. I mean, that army didn't get too far. He was keeping an eye on that side of the map. He knew probes weren't there for pylons, but he was just shutting down the army as it moved forward. 4th base is on the way. His swarm hosts are on the way. I think Golden's in a pretty good setup here.
Yeah, he definitely loves to play this style. The 3rd map, 3 times swarm host on his side, and this is looking very good. As you mentioned on Nimbus, at least there was some decent amount of pressure on the 3rd hatchery for, let's say, like 1.5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes, where Wellmu was dancing around, trying to get the hatchery. This time he had no probe with it, so he was planning on transitioning anyways. We saw the Twilight Council, the +2 starting very early on, and he has a lot of probes on the 3rd base. He's up to 70 probes against 72 drones, so he will be able to saturate his gases.
Yeah.
He got a good scout, so he knows what's on, and let's see how he reacts.
I mean, the one thing overall that's okay for Wellmu here is the fact that the creep spread isn't as developed as it was in the first map. But wait a minute, a big Zergling run by trying to get onto some of these probes. Even if they just deny a little bit of mining time, they're doing all right there. 2 worker kills, and, well, trying to poke forwards with a small force, not really going to do too much.
Yeah, the Locusts are a huge pain right now. He doesn't have an observer with it because I think it's the 2nd robo. Yeah, the 1st robo just finished, and the 2nd one is on the way. He just says he can't deal with a Locust right now. Sentry DPS is way too little, obviously.
This pylon on the right-hand side makes me think Wellmu has realized with this Hallucinated Phoenix that, yes, the 4th base is there, so the Locusts, the Swarm hosts are going to be in a very odd position to reinforce both of these locations at the same time. So trying to push at this natural might be an opportunity, but if he loses the pylon... Okay, he's not going to lose it just yet.
No. He's going to get another warp in, but the question is, does he want to get another warp in? He's getting charged, he's getting +2, probably followed by +3, and he wants to build up Colossus count. He saves a lot of money, and we will see the double Colossus production very, very soon.
And again, we actually have to commend Golden on his splitting up of his swarm hosts, because he's defending both of these locations really, really nicely.
Yeah.
With just a few swarm hosts scattered here and there.
Reminds me of Snoot having like 3 or 4 swarm hosts in the main base natural to defend any kind of War Prism Harris, while the others are at the 4th base. So you're basically immune to attacks for a while, especially once you get up the spines and spores. Given the good opening that Golden has, it's going to be very, very tough for Velmo to do any kind of damage. And look at this. 4 Vipers on the way and the first 2 Colossus as well. So there is basically no timing for Velmo to go for. He needs High Templars with this.
Because he just didn't do enough during that initial poke out, right? With the with that Stalker and Sentries that kind of needed to do more than they had, unfortunately. But the static defense going up everywhere. It's going to be difficult for Zealots to really get into that natural. He's already walling off the main with the spine crawlers in that little nook, making it hard to get the tech.
It's the first time I see Zerg actually building like this. I think if he builds 1 Spore on the right side, he's actually going to have a almost full wall of the spines. So it's very hard to kill them with Zealots or DTs.
He's going to have to hit in multiple areas. Keep Golden on the back foot.
If he actually can abduct the mothership, this is going to be painful for Velmo.
He actually needs a Spore main base, does Golden, because the Dark Templars are there along with this army. There's one at the natural, so
the mothership! Where are the queens?
Okay, it's not going to die. It's just, okay. Yeah, okay, he'll keep abducting.
No!
Do your thing, Spore Crawler. Yeah!
Oh, God. All the sentries, some of the Stalkers are being gunned down. Maybe the sentries will be able to run away. And all that happened, I think you mentioned there were DTs, but did they do anything?
They didn't. No, they didn't stick around in the main. They were running from the natural to third, not doing a whole lot. So I think they could have done more if they'd just stuck around in the main.
Yeah. And look at this. 4 more spines in the main, another Spore. It's actually 3 spines and 1 Spore. Spire on the way, a few Infestors. 180 supply against 140, and this is looking very, very tough for Velmo. What does he have at home? Nothing. It's 4 Colossus, 2 Dark Templars. This is... It's not a strong army right now.
No. I mean, army supply is very much in favor of Golden, 92 to 73. I don't think he can do a whole lot, but as the creep spray keeps going, as the swarm host numbers increase just a little, I mean, he's got 15. He can just keep pressing on, and Golden's 4th base could become very, very contested during all of this.
Yeah. Another War Prism is flying into the main, but there has been 3 spines before, and this time it's even 6 spines and a Spore. So I don't think the War Prism will do damage. And as you mentioned, the creep spread is spreading forward, so he will be able to siege the Protoss soon, to siege the 4th base, maybe even having one of the creep tumors spreading to the left, so you can come from behind through the rocks with a few locusts all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh god, the single Mutalisk.
Oh, it's part of single Mutalisk. Is this actually... Okay, he's having on a few more, actually.
It's part of the build to...
Which is a nice start for him.
Hooray!
Oh, he's like, oh, pylon must happen. But more Mutalisks are actually being added on here. So this is a little bit of a deviation to the build.
But he doesn't have the supply, so I would still call it a fake or whatever it is. It's not a commitment.
Yeah.
It might be just to kill down the War Prisms, I believe, but we will see.
Yeah, can do well, can do well.
Yeah.
For now, this army through the middle is going to have a hard time of really doing anything. For Velmo, it's going to push away some of this creep, try and gun down a lot of these Locusts, but the Locusts are trading at the front. There's a few abducts towards the 2 Colossi.
Yeah. Second, third, yeah, both Colossus are going down. Blinding Clouds, the 3rd Colossus, the 4th. All exploding at the same time.
This is getting painful.
And Velmo is down 40 supply. The War Prism in the main base did fall to the Mutalisk, so it's definitely... I mean, I don't know if it's part of his build, but it's very good.
They're the janitors of his build. They're cleaning up. They're getting things done.
To get a few mutas to actually kill the War Prisms that are constantly harassing him.
Well, more Zealot and Dark Templar harassment on this right-hand side. They will kill a few spines, but there's still the Spore there, so even that Dark Templar is not going to survive. Good job, janitors. You do well.
So now let's remember the game on Nimbus, when Golden was, I'd say, rather aggressive as well with his Swarmhost, like he is right now. But this time, we have a lot of Spine Crawlers, Spore Crawlers, Queens, and a lot of Creep Tumors around his Swarmhost. On Nimbus, he was pretty much naked at the front.
You're right. Naked's a very good way of describing it. No static D, very, very little creep, very little room to retreat back to.
Yeah.
But now this is a whole different story. Velmo is going to have to weather the storm for a long time here before he can even completely establish this 4th base. It's going to fall.
Yeah, definitely. The Locusts are not focusing on it. Golden didn't pay attention. Now they are. It's down to only 55. Don't worry, guys. The second wave is coming.
Don't worry,
And
it's gonna die.
If the second is not enough, the third is coming.
Fourth and fifth and sixth. It'll never stop.
They will never stop unless you kill the Swarmos.
Is he actually gonna?
27.
All right then. All right, well, Moo. Somehow he keeps saving.
Well, he has to go for an attack now. Does he have any High Templars with it? No. So once again, the Abduct's going to be so painful for him.
Blinding Cloud, where are these Abducts? Where are the Fungals? He catches a few of those Stalkers at the front with one, but once these Abducts fly in, it's going to be very difficult to hold on with. He's trying to just bulldoze down this location.
Not a single Abduct has been used so far. I don't know what Golden is actually waiting for.
He's adopted his teammate's name, Patience, as he tries to hold on against this a little bit. There's a blink forwards to try and catch some of this, but where are the Abducts? There's a few there.
Oh, very late, and now the Locusts are actually not in position to snipe them down. Neither are the static defense, so Wellmo is going for an attack. Golden has so much money. Is he going for a muta switch? No, he's actually going back to Swarmos.
A few corpses have been mixed into this army as well. He actually, I feel he let Wellmo take that location almost. I think that more could have been done by Golden to actually contain that mid.
Yeah, he has 2 Abducts on one of the Vipers and the other one has 1 as well. So 3 Colossus could have been dead, I believe. Or maybe 3 Archons if you can't catch the Colossus. Archons are very, very vital to kill as well.
Meanwhile, the 5th base of Golden is fully intact and completely fine, as it has about 1,000 spine crawlers over there, but no mining. So at least Golden will hold on for that for now.
It's the backup plan.
Yeah, yeah.
The Locusts are still trying to hunt down the Nexus on the top, by the way. They are going for it, and this time there are no units to protect it, so maybe he will be able to get it.
I feel it has to die for justice. There's been so much directed at it. He gets cannons, but not the Nexus.
Yeah.
Oh, well, pushing into mid again. There's a lot of Zealots in there that aren't really going to do a whole lot other than tank up some Locust fire.
Yeah, this time there are Corruptors with the army. He's getting the Mothership Core, so neither time or recall is a possibility right now.
That's a nice pick off. The Swarm hosts are quite safe